Welcome to Brainish English Stories.
Fanny Price traveled safely to her new home. At Northampton, Mrs. Norris met her and felt proud to welcome her first. She also enjoyed leading Fanny to her new family and telling them to be kind to her. Fanny was 10 years old. She was small for her age, with a pale face and no striking beauty. She was very shy and scared of attention. But she had a sweet voice, and when she spoke, her face looked nice. Sir Thomas and Lady Bertram greeted her kindly. Sir Thomas saw that she needed comfort and tried to be friendly, but he was serious. Lady Bertram, without saying much, gave Fanny a warm smile, which made her seem less frightening. The Bertram children were at home and welcomed Fanny politely. The two sons, 17 and 16, were tall and confident. To little Fanny, they looked like grown men. The daughters, Maria and Julia, were closer to Fanny's age but much more confident. They were used to company and compliments. Seeing how shy Fanny was, they felt even more at ease. They looked at her and her dress with curiosity, but without much interest. The Bertram family was handsome and well-dressed. The sons were good-looking, and the daughters were very pretty. They all looked older than they were. Julia was 12 and Maria was 13, but they seemed much older than 10-year-old Fanny. Fanny, however, felt miserable. She was afraid of everyone, ashamed of herself, and missed her home. She barely spoke, and when she did, her voice was too quiet. Mrs. Norris had spent the journey telling Fanny how lucky she was. She said Fanny should be grateful and well-behaved. This made Fanny feel even worse because she thought it was wrong to be unhappy. The long journey had also made her very tired. Sir Thomas tried to be kind, and Mrs. Norris kept saying Fanny would be a good girl. Lady Bertram smiled and let Fanny sit with her and her little dog. Even a gooseberry tart did not cheer her up. She took only 2 bites before she started crying. Since sleep seemed to be the only thing that could help, they sent her to bed. When Fanny left the room, Mrs. Norris sighed. "This is not a good start," she said. "I thought she would behave better. I warned her that her first impression was important. I hope she is not sulky like her mother was. But we must understand, she has left her home, and she does not yet see how much better her life will be. Still, she should not be too sad." Fanny took a long time to get used to her new home at Mansfield Park. Mrs. Norris thought she should be happy quickly, but it was not easy for her. Everything was new, and she missed her family very much. People were not unkind, but no one tried to make her feel comfortable. The next day, the Bertram girls had a holiday to spend time with Fanny. But they did not become close. They thought she was not interesting because she had only 2 sashes and did not know French. When she did not seem excited about their music, they gave her some old toys and left her alone. They went to play their own games, making paper flowers or decorating with gold paper. No matter where Fanny was, schoolroom, drawing room, or garden, she felt lonely. Lady Bertram was always quiet, Sir Thomas looked too serious, and Mrs. Norris kept scolding her. Her older cousins made her feel small and shy. The teacher, Miss Lee, was surprised by how little she knew. Even the servants laughed at her simple clothes. She remembered her brothers and sisters at home, where she was important and loved. This made her feel even worse. The grand house amazed her, but it did not make her happy. The rooms were too big, and she was afraid of touching anything. She often ran to her room to cry. At night, the family thought she understood how lucky she was, but every day ended with her crying herself to sleep. After a week of sadness, her cousin Edmund, the youngest son, found her crying on the attic stairs. "My dear cousin," he said kindly, "what is wrong?" He sat beside her and tried to comfort her. Was she sick? Was someone angry with her? Did she have trouble with her lessons? Did she want anything? At first, Fanny only whispered, "No, no, not at all, no. Thank you." But Edmund did not give up. When he spoke about her home, she started crying harder. "You miss your mother, don't you?" he said gently. "That shows you are a good girl. But remember, you're with family who love you and want you to be happy. Let's walk in the park and you can tell me about your brothers and sisters." As they talked, Edmund saw that Fanny missed one person most, her older brother, William. He was 1 year older than her and her best friend. He always helped her at home and had not wanted her to leave. "William will write to you," Edmund said. "Yes, but he told me to write first," Fanny said sadly. "Then you must write to him," Edmund said. "Is something stopping you?" "I don't have any paper," she whispered. "If that's all, I will give you paper and everything you need." "Would writing to William make you happy?" "Yes, very," Fanny said, her eyes brightening. "Then let's do it now," Edmund said. "Come with me to the breakfast room. We will be alone there." "But will my letter be sent?" Fanny asked. "Yes, it will go with the other letters. And your uncle will send it for free." "My uncle?" Fanny repeated, looking scared. "Yes, after you write the letter, I will take it to my father to send," Edmund said. Fanny thought this was a big step, but she did not say no. They went together to the breakfast room. Edmund gave her paper and ruled lines for her to write neatly. He stayed with her while she wrote, helping when needed. He also did something very kind. He wrote his own message to William and put some money under the seal. Fanny was so happy and grateful that she could not find the right words. But her face and a few simple words showed how much she appreciated it. Edmund now found Fanny interesting. He talked to her more and saw that she had a kind heart and always wanted to do the right thing. He also noticed that she was very shy and needed more kindness. He tried to make her feel less afraid of the family and gave her advice on playing with Maria and Julia. He told her to try to be happy. From this day, Fanny felt better. She had a friend now. Edmund's kindness gave her more confidence. The house and people became less scary. Some people still frightened her, but she started to understand their ways. Her awkwardness and fear slowly went away. She was not as scared to be near her uncle, and her Aunt Norris's voice did not make her jump so much anymore. Sometimes her cousins accepted her in their games. She was younger and weaker than them, so they did not always include her. But sometimes they needed a third person to play, and Fanny was kind and easygoing. When Aunt Norris asked about her faults, or when Edmund reminded them to be nice, they admitted, "Fanny's good-natured." Edmund was always kind. Her older cousin Tom, who was 17, did not treat her badly, but he often laughed at her. He was full of energy and liked to spend money and have fun. He gave her some small presents, but also joked about her. As Fanny's looks and mood improved, Sir Thomas and Aunt Norris felt pleased with their decision to bring her. They thought she was not very clever, but was quiet and obedient. Many people thought Fanny was not smart. She could read, write, and sew, but she knew little else. Her cousins often laughed at her. "Mother, can you believe it? Fanny doesn't know where Asia Minor is. She can't name the big rivers in Russia. She doesn't know the difference between crayons and watercolors." Their mother answered, "That is bad, but not everyone can learn as quickly as you." "But, Aunt, Fanny knows so little. Do you know, we asked her how to get to Ireland, and she said she would go through the Isle of Wight. She always talks about the Isle of Wight and calls it the island, as if there were no other island in the world. I would be so embarrassed if I didn't know better at her age. I can't even remember a time when I didn't know things that she still has no idea about. Aunt, don't you remember how long ago we learned the names of all the English kings in order, with the dates and big events?" "Yes," said the other sister. "And we learned about the Roman emperors, Greek gods, metals, planets, and famous philosophers." Mrs. Norris answered, "Yes, my dears, but you both have amazing memories. Your cousin may not. People are different. You should understand and be kind. And remember, no matter how much you already know, there is always more to learn." "Yes, I know that until I turn 17. But Aunt, there is something else about Fanny that is so silly. She says she does not want to learn music or drawing." "That is really strange," said Mrs. Norris. "It shows she has no talent or ambition. But maybe it is not so bad. Even though your parents are kind to raise her with you, she does not need to be as skilled as you. In fact, it is better if she is different." With advice like this, Mrs. Norris helped shape her nieces' minds. It was not surprising that, even though they were smart and well-educated, they lacked kindness, generosity, and humility. They learned many things, but not how to be good people. Sir Thomas, though he cared about his daughters, did not see this problem. He was serious and not very affectionate. His cold manner made his children quiet around him. Lady Bertram did not help with her daughter's education at all. She did not have time for such things. She spent her days sitting on a sofa in nice clothes, doing long, pointless needlework and caring more about her pet dog than her children. She was kind to them when it was easy, but let her husband and sister make all decisions. She believed her daughters did not need more attention because they had a governess and good teachers. As for Fanny, she simply said, "It's unlucky that she is not smart." But some people are like that. She must try harder. There is nothing else to do. But except for that, she is a sweet girl, very useful for running errands and bringing me things. Fanny, though shy and not very knowledgeable, stayed at Mansfield Park and slowly grew attached to her new home. She was often treated as less important by her cousins, Maria and Julia, but they were not truly unkind. Since Fanny thought little of herself, she did not feel too hurt by their behavior. After Fanny arrived, Lady Bertram, due to some minor health problems and her general laziness, decided to stay in the country all year. She gave up her house in town, leaving Sir Thomas to attend Parliament alone. Meanwhile, Maria and Julia continued their lessons, practiced music, and became tall and elegant young women. Their father was pleased to see them grow into accomplished ladies. He was less happy with his eldest son, who was careless and spent too much money. But he was proud of his younger son, Edmund, who was kind and responsible. Edmund planned to become a clergyman, and Sir Thomas believed he would bring honor to the family. Even with his worries and hopes for his own children, Sir Thomas did not forget Mrs. Price's family. He helped her by supporting the education and careers of her sons. Fanny, although separated from her family, was happy whenever she heard good news about them. But in all her years at Mansfield Park, she only saw William once. After Fanny left home, William decided to become a sailor. Before going to sea, he was invited to spend a week with her. Their time together was full of joy, laughter, and deep talks. William was full of excitement for his future, while Fanny felt deep sadness when he had to leave. Luckily, it was Christmas, so she found comfort in Edmund. He told her wonderful things about William's career and future, helping her see that this separation had a purpose. Edmund was always kind to Fanny. Even when he left Eton for Oxford, he remained her closest friend. He helped her gain confidence, encouraged her, and made sure others saw her good qualities. No one else at Mansfield Park cared much about her, so Edmund's support was very important. He also helped her improve her mind. Fanny was intelligent, quick to understand things, and loved reading. Miss Lee taught her French and history, but Edmund guided her reading choices. He suggested books she enjoyed, discussed them with her, and praised her thoughts. Through him, reading became both fun and educational. Fanny loved Edmund deeply for his kindness. He was the most important person in her life, except for William. Her heart was shared between her two greatest friends.